What is good, Tesla family? It's Ray J back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's going on with Tesla, SPY, Nvda, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers. I'm going to break down what's happening with the market so far and some very important technicals to be watching for, and what the data that's coming out is saying about Tesla moving forward. But before I break into things up, all this information, before I get into any more details, let me just mention a couple of things. I am personally not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Weeble link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Weeble, the link down below, and deposit any amount of money into the account, you are guaranteed up to 12 free stocks. Now, this offer ends in just 11 days, so check it out before they run out. Anyways, let's break down what's going on with Tesla. Tesla was down 3.69% for the day, selling off quite a bit today. We got this big sell off in the very beginning, bringing Tesla down to 210 a share. However, Tesla made an attempt to bounce. I was talking about like right here. It pushed a little bit higher, but then Tesla ended up failing and the market ended up selling off towards the very end once again. And Tesla closed down 3.69%. Now, as Tesla sold off and as Tesla was looking weak today, did something that was quite decent, and that is we managed to hold 210 at the bottom, and we technically established a higher low as we based around 212 instead later on. So that is a decent sign, but overall, it still is looking quite weak as Tesla closed in the red and it's just barely holding 210. So can Tesla see more downside? It is a possibility, but I want to talk about the different contingencies in just a couple of minutes. Let's first talk about some data for next week and also the market. So the market is quite fearful. We're seeing the fear and greed index getting very close to extreme fear, and we're seeing this throughout our different indicators out there, suggesting that the market is once again in a very negative sentiment standpoint. Now, this could shift over time, depending on what happens with the big tech earnings and things like that coming out for next week, and other factors if this does end up affecting the markets. Now, for next week, we don't have anything too crazy for Monday or Friday when it comes to earnings. I think we have some bank earnings and just a couple of others for Monday, but the big days are going to be Tuesday/Thursday, or between Tuesday and Thursday, as we have Coca-Cola, Microsoft, Alphabet, Verizon, General Electric, and a bunch of other ones from IBM to Meta and Amazon all coming out during this time frame. We have some big earnings coming out which will affect Tesla and the markets to some extent. Now, on a seasonality basis, this chart suggests that there could be more selling coming to the markets. The market is likely going to try to bottom very soon, and there could be a big rally for the end of the year. Now, this will depend on earnings and other factors like that, but as of right now, I believe that this is still it still has a lot of merit. And I will talk more about this tomorrow because I'm going to talk about how this could affect Tesla for November and December. But for now, just know that the market is likely in a bottoming process. Tesla could bottom a little bit later because Tesla could still show some weakness due to the current fundamentals. But like I said before, Tesla will also bottom soon. It may take a little bit later, or a little bit longer relative to the market. But I still believe Tesla is going to try to bounce soon, even in November, approaching the Cybertruck event. It just needs a little bit more time. I'm going to break down more details about that going into tomorrow's video. I will talk briefly about that today, though. I also wanted to call out that when it comes to data affecting the markets, there's not really much coming out on Monday or Tuesday, but later on during the week, we have the PCE reports coming out, which is going to be very, very important. So we'll be watching for this on Thursday. This is going to be once again for the month of September. Now, with PCE coming out, we also have the quarter over quarter PCE reports, not to mention other metrics of it. And then for Friday, we have the other pieces of data, which are going to be very important. So we'll be watching for this on Thursday and Friday. I think that's pretty much it for now. I think Jerome Powell is going to be giving a speech on Wednesday. So he's going to be back on Wednesday. Pretty crazy stuff. So yeah, we have quite a bit coming for next week, but it's not going to be that crazy in the very beginning. Now, Tesla has some interesting data. We sold off on high volume. 138 million was the volume, with the short volume relative to price going up a little bit. We also have some overweight ratings from Wedbush and Morgan Stanley. So Tesla's still getting some good ratings. Analysts are still very bullish for the longer term. For the short term, it's looking a bit weak, but I believe Tesla will bounce soon. I don't think that the downside is going to be super, super massive for Tesla. I believe that there could be more downside. It's going to be quite limited, though. I do believe it could drop another, like 5, maybe even up to 10%. That is a slight possibility. But seeing how much Tesla moves every day, that's not like that crazy. And the upside that's going to come is still going to be incredible for the company. It just needs a little bit more time to find its bottom. And once it happens, Tesla is going to be just fine. So don't worry too much, guys. Don't let all this negative news get the best of you. It's going to recover. It's going to be okay. I will break down more information about that later. The price price ratio is dropping because Tesla's losing strength, is becoming very weak right now. It may continue to drop if Tesla continues to remain weak. Yes, Tesla could drop another 5%. Like I said, it could drop even more, but there is going to be a big bounce coming and there's going to be a recovery in the future. I will talk more about that. Price comparison, excuse me, sorry guys. The price comparison is showing that just like SPY, Tesla is selling off. Tesla's just a little bit more bearish. Seasonality suggests that there's going to be upside for November. We could see a big bounce thanks to the Cybertruck event, but it needs a little bit more time, like I said before. And besides that, there's not much else to talk about except for this. I just wanted to mention that FINRA has some more data. The short volume, or the total volume that came out for Tesla, was about 93 million on the short side. And we saw more shorts piling into Tesla. So we're seeing the amount of Tesla shares that were shorted in total going up quite a bit. And short volume is starting to increase for the share price as shorts are beginning to pile in. The short interest also is getting closer to like 3%. So we're seeing more and more shorts piling into Tesla, betting Tesla is going to tank, and they're taking full advantage of a moment like this. So, what do I think Tesla's going to do? My answer is, well, let's first talk about the market. The market is going to see very limited downside. I think that we're approaching a bottom on SPY in the QQQ soon, and we're going to get at least either a temporary bounce and then form our final bottom for a much bigger bounce later, or we're about to see our final bottom come and then the market's going to bounce. It's got to be one of those two. I will display this in the chart in just a minute just to show you, but my point in saying all this is for Tesla, Tesla could drop a little bit more. There could be more downside coming, and we're going to be watching to see if it can hold 200. If we lose 200, there's going to be more downside for sure, and I'm going to talk about some targets if that does happen. If we manage to hold above 200 through all of this chaos, there's going to be a good sign of a nice bounce very soon. So I just wanted to call out, let's talk about SPY. I just want to call out a couple of things before I talk about Tesla. There's something very important about the chart. On the daily chart, we have a bullish divergence developing on the RSI, also on our MACD. And I believe it's very probable that we're going to see this play out, but we need to see this thing like make this new low before it ends up happening. So what I'm seeing for Spire, basically, these possibilities, I believe that it's very possible that, hold on, let me just fix this, that this thing could sell off a little bit more, but either way, regardless of what happens, there's going to be a bounce. So if we lose 420, I think downside is going to be very limited. We could technically come down to this like 417 to 418 area to bottom and form a bullish divergence and then just start uptrending as we approach November and make our way back up to 430 going into November. I think it's very possible, right? That's the first possibility. The second possibility would be us maybe getting a temporary bounce thanks to the much smaller bullish divergence, retesting these lows, I'm sorry, these highs that are on SPY technically, and then we reject and we get one final drop for the bottom, forming a bullish divergence, and then we see this thing uptrend later on going into November. Seasonality also supports this notion. And the last possibility would be something like where we basically just, the bottom is in and we just get very limited downside at 420. We hold 420 and we just start pushing and pushing and pushing our way back up. So there are like three possibilities for this, whether we make a new low or not. Either way, regardless of what happens, all right, I see upside. We could drop a little bit more for a few days and then push. We could pop and then drop to this new low and then push, or we could just hold 420 and then push up. But I see a bounce coming. Okay, I think it's very likely the market's going to bounce going into November. And I believe there's more upside coming. I will talk more about this about like November and December tomorrow because there's something very important I want to talk about. But I think that this is going to make its way into the QQQ as well. Basically, this may sell off a little bit. We're going to be watching this 353 support, if not 350, and it's going to basically base very, very soon. We're close to our bottom, just a few points away, and this thing is going to just bounce quite nicely and make its way back up. So could we pump and then drop for the bottom and then eventually get the monstrous bounce, or do we just like drop down here and then bounce? Either way, regardless of what happens to the QQQ, excuse me, whether it's a little pop like this before the final drop, and then we just make our way up going into November, or if we just the bottom is already in. I don't know if the bottom is in or not, but even if we do drop a little bit more, I could still see a nice bounce off that key fib retracement. A bounce is likely still on the table for the short term. So I'm still seeing that for QQQ. Same thing on Nvidia. Same thing. Nvidia could technically drop towards 409 to 407 and then bounce, or it could just bounce from here and try to make its way back above 425. I still think it's very possible for Nvidia to base. I think that it's due for a bounce. Same thing with Aapl. We're approaching some critical support around the 170 zone. We could see 170 and then a bounce, or it could drop a little bit more and then do it. I think that 170 looks quite probable on Aapl, but we might get a bounce later on. I think it's still very possible. So we're going to be watching this very, very carefully, especially approaching its earnings. So just be very careful. Anyways, that's pretty much it for all the other equities except for Tesla. And now let's just talk about Tesla before we concluded this video. What's going on with Tesla? Is Tesla going to sink more? Right now, there's no true sign of Tesla being ready to just like bounce very hard. And I believe when looking at this overall comparison between Tesla and the market, Tesla's losing strength, so there could be more downside coming for it. If the market drops a little bit, Tesla could still drop a lot. But we're going to be watching, can we hold 200? That's going to be the biggest factor for me. If we manage to hold above 200, if we only like hit, for example, 208 or 205 and we balance and we just fail to break below those levels, there's a possibility that's going to be it for Tesla's downside, and it could just base around these levels. What might happen is we either like kind of push up a little bit back up to like 220 and reject. And if we get our bottom down here, I don't know if it's going to be 208 or so. It could be 205. I'm just not 100% sure which one it's going to be. It really depends on how we hold 210 and also 200. So our bottom could be around here, and Tesla could try to rebound with the market going into November, approaching the Cybertruck event. It may be a very small rebound, very slow to rebound because Tesla's going to be very weak to start us off. So it doesn't have to be a crazy big bounce. It's going to be a little weaker, a little slow because of how it's looking. Another possibility would be like, let's just say, Tesla fails to get much of a balance and it just continues to sink lower. Well, we have to watch, do we hold 200? Do we hold this 200 support? If we lose it, okay, the 0.618 retracements all the way down around 176. We also have an unfilled gap around 193, so we could technically see those levels. I'm not going to worry about them yet unless we truly break. We'll see if we bounce off 200 or not, and we start a very slow, gradual recovery before we become more aggressive in, I would say, like the second half of November. And then another possibility is, do we break all the way down below this 200 area? Do we end up breaking a little bit more? I don't know if the bottom is in for Tesla. It doesn't really look like it's in yet. But if Tesla were to sink lower, I just want to mention that we have an unfilled gap very close to this 193 area. We're going to be watching that. And another key level will be all the way down. I already charted this, but around 185 and 180, those are like two important supports. Um, right here, I mean, we could technically see 185. I wouldn't rule that out. If 180 fails us, then there's 176, which is the 0.618 retracement from a Fibonacci retracement level. I'm not going to draw it out, guys, because I already did this and it's going to take too long. So it all depends on, do we break 200 or not? If we break 200, then yes, we can start sinking even lower towards like 193 to 190. Yes, it could happen if we break 200. As of right now, it hasn't happened, so let's not worry about it just yet. Let's see how it tries to hold up for the time being, and let's see if Tesla could try to bounce from here. Okay, so look for a little rebound as soon as Monday, and it may just fail and just continue going a little lower. We will see if it tries to hold, 200. If we manage to hold 200 or at least 210, then it could flip from here, and we could see Tesla just try to base and then make its way back up. But I'm anticipating a little bounce first before anything, and then we'll see what happens from there. But this is something that could play out for Tesla. We basically try to bounce a little bit, we come back down, we establish a bullish divergence. Tesla tries to base around this 208 area. Maybe it goes down to 200 and tries to base. One of those two is going to be the case. And then we get a nice rebound and we try to push our way right back up. So we're going to be watching this very, very carefully. We're going to see how this ends up playing out. And the most important way to go about this is to remain calm, cool, and collected and not let anything get the best of you. All right. So let's see 200 if it holds or not going over the next 2 weeks. If it doesn't hold, the downside targets I mentioned are still very possible. If it holds, hey, I think Tesla is going to looking at like it's pretty decent. It could try to rebound, and this is going to be a very good buying opportunity. Please do not become way too bearish. Don't talk about 100, 120, 150 on Tesla if we're still above 200. we have to wait for one level to break first before we confirm anything else. And please try to be as, I would say, pragmatic, and try to be as open-minded to anything. So anyways, that's what I have for this video. I thank you all so much for listening. I'll see you guys very soon for the next one tomorrow, where I'm going to talk about the longer term. And with that out of the way, have a great weekend, everyone. I'll see you guys very soon. Thank you, and peace out.